quoting now, the accidental pastor for almost 16 years. As you reflect back over that time, what do you feel has been your greatest achievement or proudest moment?
Josh, I would have to say it's being able to help other people. I think, and you guys know this, there's nothing like being able to help somebody else reach their dreams or bring them out of maybe a low place in life. And, I never, like you said, I never dreamed that I would be doing this. And, now when I get to touch people in some way, I know it's God touching them through me, but it's just very rewarding to hear people say, you helped me move forward, or you helped me to start my business, or you helped me to, in my relationship with God, whatever it is. I don't think there's any greater pay than helping somebody else. I really believe that's what we were all put here for, to make somebody else's life better. And, that's why God blesses us with success. And when you're tied on to helping other people, I think you'll be blessed even more.
Yeah, that kind of thing keeps you going. You touch millions of people on a weekly basis. What goes through your mind each week before you preach to them? What do you say to yourself before you talk to them and influence them in their lives?
Well, I feel a great responsibility, not a burden, but a responsibility to be prepared, to get up there and to be my very best. So I get to visit with a lot of people, and I get to hear, their struggles, their challenges. I also get to hear their victories as well. So I like to share a lot of that. But when I go to prepare, I think, here's who I'm talking to, these people that I visited with during the week after the services, and, to talk about everyday life issues. For me, and everybody's different, but in my profession, I don't just talk about, doctrine. I talk more about, how you can live a blessed life, how you can overcome, how you can, get through a divorce, or how you can achieve your dreams. So I'm always trying to motivate people in some way when they leave one of our services that makes them say, I can do better, I can go further, I can become who I was created to be.
You have described yourself as shy, reserved. Tell me, how does a shy guy stand up and talk in front of that massive, massive global audience? Inquiring minds of shy people like myself are begging to know.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was, it's gotten better now. But as you said, 16 years ago when I started, I was behind the camera, running the production for my father at his church. And of course, I thought that's where I'd spend my life, behind the scenes. But, it's not my natural personality necessarily to get up in front of people. I think the way I did it and the way I continue to do it is you have to talk to yourself the right way on the inside, your inner dialogue. I mean, especially that first year or two, it's just like every time I'd get close to going up there, it'd be like, oh, Joel, you're not going to know what to say. Nobody's going to listen to you. You don't have the credentials. Those negative voices will really try to push you down. And I like to say, if you don't talk to yourself the right way, then yourself will talk to you. And it's not very good English, but, those negative thoughts will push you down. So one of the big things I do, I would quote scriptures. I can do all things through Christ. I'm strong in the Lord, or this is my time. This is my moment. And I don't think it's so much just psyching yourself out. But it's getting your mind going in the right direction. And, even once you get up there, you have to keep it going in the right direction, because you can look at somebody and, again, those first few years, you'd get up there and I'd think to myself, you're boring people, Joel. This is so boring. And, you start going down that path and it's not going to be a very good speech. So I think it's a big part of it is on the inside of yourself. You have to know that you're equipped, that you're empowered, that you have everything you need, or God wouldn't have presented you that opportunity.
Yeah, self-talk is just so important. And I want to get back to that. A couple of things. First, the people you reach, a lot of them look up to you as a leader, someone to follow, mimic, someone to learn from. Will you tell us about the things you regularly do to build your own skills as a leader? Essentially, how do you make sure that you are the best you that you can possibly be?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an ongoing process, and you guys know, and you teach it, and you read it in your magazine. But I take the first half hour of every day to search my own heart, to read, and I start off reading the scripture, to pray, to meditate, to make sure that I'm on the right course. Also, all during the day, as a speaker, and other speakers would know too, I'm making notes. If I think a good thought, or if I hear a story or something, I've gotten really good at always taking in material, because you always need it. And so I think for me, on a regular scheduled week where I'm speaking on Saturday and Sunday, I'll take all day Wednesday to just take that whole day to prepare, to take in new material, to to read, to listen to CDs, to just maybe have some time to think and to write some notes. And so that's an important part of my life, that Wednesday where I'm not pressed to turn something out that day. I'm going to start working on my sermon on that Thursday and Friday. So, again, just continually, I like to read and take in good material.
To continue that sort of leadership idea, the people that you manage directly, the ones you lead on a day-to-day basis, the ones that help you run the church, put the productions together, and so on, what do you do to make sure that you're providing them with the best possible leadership?
Well, I try to model it, for example, to lead in the way I'd want them to lead, with excellence, with integrity, with kindness, and with respect. And also, we're big on sending our staff and key leaders to seminars to continue their learning as well. And we bring people into the church staff as well to teach leadership, and just always not taking for granted that let's don't get stuck where we are. Let's all be learning. So try to model it, and then we bring in others as well as myself. I do some teaching there on leadership, but believe in the seminars and bringing in people to help train our staff.
There's so many people who swear by you and your message. I'd love to hear a story or two that you've been told or heard about from the people who have listened to you, learned from you, and had it change their lives for the better.
Yeah, there's been some amazing ones. I feel very blessed to hear them all the time. I think one interesting one that just pops into mind is I was at a book signing in Chicago, and it's probably 5 or 6 years ago, and this lady came up in line. There was hundreds of people in line, but this lady came up. She seemed to be about maybe 55 years old, and a young lady behind her, I'm just guessing 30s or something, and they were both weeping. And I thought, what, I don't know the story. You kind of it's an odd place for me there in a sense, but I didn't know if they were overcome with grief or happiness or whatever it is. But long story short, those two, that was a mother and a daughter. They had not spoken in, I think, 12 years. They'd become estranged and just, at odds. And they had both ended up watching me on television, not knowing that they both watch, and they both happened to come to that book signing, not seeing each other in 12 years, and they ended up in line close to each other, and that was the beginning of their restoration right there in the line, right there in front of me. And just think how God connects the dots, and when you least expect it, you don't know how God can work. But here's stories like that, and just again and again, I feel very blessed to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's an incredible story.
Yeah, I don't believe there's coincidences, and they never, they both had good intentions. And sometimes we get stuck in life when we need somebody like myself or you guys to come along to say, okay, you know what? Here's an opportunity where you can let go of some things, and life's too short. And in this particular instance, life's too short to be at odds with people, and it's better to just let it go, take the high road, and move forward.
On the flip side of all those people who have bought in and are being rewarded for it, you already know this, but like anyone, there are a lot of naysayers out there in regards to who you are, your success, your wealth, what your goals are, and I'm sure these people confront you from time to time. What do you say to them? How do you interact with them?
Yeah, I mainly hear it on the interviews and things, but you know what? I'm not naive. I'm very good at staying focused on what I believe I'm called to do, and I don't really take in the negative. We all have strengths and weaknesses. One of my strengths is I'm real good at tuning that stuff out. I mean, most of the people I run into, 99% of them, they're for me. And so I do think it's important, to not be critical of the people that are critical of you. And that was hard. My personality type, if you knew me, I like everybody to like me, and I don't want confrontation. I'll be the nicest guy in the world. I'll go mow your lawn if you'll like me more. I mean, that's just my personality. But I had to accept the fact that, you know what, Joel, everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to understand you, and that's okay. So you can't let the negative, the haters, the critical people, you can't let that get on the inside, or I believe it can keep you from your destiny.
Yeah, our readers, whether they're trying to make a transformational shift in their lives or they're launching a business that they're passionate about, they confront these people. They're all around them who, as you said, and to borrow a phrase from my generation, the haters, the naysayers. How do you recommend people get to that point in their lives like you, where you're able to tune it out, you're able to accept them? How can readers make that shift to where they just don't hear it?
Yeah, I think it's not saying it's easy, but I think one thing is don't take it in if you don't have to. I mean, how many times do we go, hear somebody says something on social media, or there's an article or something where we're mentioned in a negative light. I think a big part of it is to, not take it in if you don't have to. Another thought, this may tie in, if that battle is not between you and your destiny, your dream, your goal, then it's not a battle worth fighting. And so I think many times these detractors or the criticism, and I know there is constructive criticism, but I'm talking about people that are never going to be for you. Many times that is simply a distraction to try to get you off course. In the scripture, just because I'm a pastor, there's a story about when Nehemiah was building this wall and trying to get it finished, and there were people down at the bottom saying, "Come on down and fight with us. You'll never build that wall," and on and on. What he did is he ignored them. He thought, "I'm not going to waste my time. I'm up here doing my job. I'm not going to get finished if I don't stick with what I'm doing." The point being is he could have gone down there and probably wiped them out. He had a bigger army. He could have showed them who he was, but he said, these guys, they're not between me and my destiny. They're simply a distraction. And I think that's what a lot of the negative talk is. And I've learned too, Josh, some of the people that are maybe against you or critical, they're never going to be for you. I could change my doctrine. I could do what they asked me to do. But you know what? You're going to have a group that's not for you. And I think the people that move forward, that accomplish their dreams, are good at tuning out the negative, staying respectful, staying on the high road. And, I think that's when you'll really be blessed and go further.
And at the end of the day, you have to be yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to be yourself. And that's what I told my team early on, because, I didn't start out to be known or be in the public or anything. I was behind the scenes. And then, you look up one day and think, man, I got all these people that don't like me. I got a few that do. But, I told my team, I said, well, I would rather be criticized for who I am than to be criticized for something that I'm not. Again, because in our business, I get hit from the left and the right. You're not hard enough on them, Joel. You're too hard on them. You got to find out who you are, because when you're in your sweet spot, that's where you're going to be blessed. And again, I realize I'm not necessarily a traditional pastor like my father, but this is what I believe that I'm called to do. And when I really stepped into what I believe was my gifting, and that was motivating people, encouraging them, pushing them forward, that's when the ministry really started to grow. And I say that, Josh, saying the first 6 months after my dad died in 1999, and I stepped up to pastor the church, I kind of felt like I got a minister like my dad. He's been here for 40 years. That's what these people want to hear. And so I tried that the first few months, and I thought, this is not me. And I had to be confident enough to say, I'm going to be who I believe I'm supposed to be. And if it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work. I'll try something else. But I don't think you'll ever reach your fullest potential if you're not being true to who you are on the inside. It's easy to try to please people. In a big church, there were a lot of people. Joel, we want you to do it this way and that way, but you gotta stay true to who you are, because that's where the favor and the blessing is.
Your goal with each sermon or each speech is to have people listen and come away feeling better than they did when they sat down. And in your most recent book, The Power of I Am, there's a focus on that positive thinking, so to speak. What benefit does a positive mindset, a positive outlook have for us from a day-to-day perspective?
Well, I really believe, Josh, your life follows your thoughts. And so when you get up in the morning and you're grateful and you're excited about the day and you're focused on what's right and not what's wrong, I believe that day's going to go better. And see, from my point of view, it's not just being positive. That's your faith being released. That's the way I express, God, I believe you have something great in store for me, that you have a purpose and a destiny, and that my greatest victories are still in front. To me, that's what allows God to open up new doors and to do great things in our lives. So, life's going to go better when you have a positive mindset. And, so much of life too, is you mentioned there about perspective, because we can focus on what's wrong, on what we don't have, on how impossible it is. Or we can turn it around and say, okay, it may look impossible, but I believe God's given me creativity. I have ways to make this happen. There's opportunity in my future. Just think the way we approach life. I deal with a lot of people in a church, and, you can focus on, the divorce you went through, or you can focus on the fact, okay, this is a new beginning. I believe that I wouldn't be alive unless something good wasn't in my future. So I think it's important that every day we choose to focus that, hey, this is a gift. I'm going to make the most of it.
It's in the title of your book, I am. How is it that these two single-syllable words can have such a big impact on our lives?
Well, I think, Josh, it goes back to that self-talk we talked about earlier. And, if that's playing in your mind all day, something like, I am slow, I am unattractive, I am unlucky. I mean, you can just go on and on. That's just going to keep you from your destiny. When you attach the right words behind that I am blessed, I am talented, I am disciplined, I am focused, I am empowered. When you're thinking like that through the day, you're going to draw in, it's going to change your self-image, I believe. I think it's going to affect your confidence, but I really believe it's going to draw in the right things for you. And so I just see so many people, and some of them, I happen to have grown up positive because I was raised in a positive family, but I meet a lot of people, it's just natural for them to be negative, and they don't really know it. That's the funny thing. And it seems for somebody that's positive, it seems so natural to just think like that. But I'm amazed at how many people just have these negative I ams. Just I am unattractive. I am unlucky. I am on and on. When you turn that around, boy, life will go better.
We've been talking about the higher power, and so I must ask you preach that God has a plan, that our days are written out, and there's a structure, and we're all going somewhere. If that's true, then explain why we need to have things like personal development in our lives. Why work on improving our circumstances for ourselves if everything is already laid out before us?
Well, I think, though, Josh, God expects us to do our part. He's given us our talents, but He expects us to develop them, to excel, to keep growing. And I think that's a big part of being responsible with what God has given you, what He's entrusted us with. I like to say God's entrusted us all with gifts and talents and opportunity. And even each day, like I was talked about, is being a gift. And if I go back to the scripture, Jesus told a parable about, one man was given a certain number of talents and another one given a certain number of talents. And one of the guys just went and hid his talents because he thought, man, I don't want to lose them. This other guy, he multiplied his. He was, efficient and excellent and effective. And, when that master came back, he said, take from him who didn't increase at all and give it to the one that did increase. And to me, it shows us that God wants us to use our talents to grow, to increase. And I tell our congregation listeners all the time, listen, we shouldn't be at the same place next year as we are right now. We should be, a year from now, we ought to be better off in our finances. We ought to be we ought to be wiser. We ought to be further in our career, better in our relationships, and just not to get stagnant. We ought to keep growing. Anything that's healthy is growing.
That's a perfect message for the February issue of Success, as you know, on newsstands pretty much everywhere in January, to have that thought for the year 2016.
Yeah, it really is. Just a new beginning. And let's say, right here at the start of the new year, let's just make some growth plans. What am I going to do to grow? And I don't have to tell you, Josh, or, all the listeners know that if you're at the same place you are now, as you were 5 years ago, you're going to, I'm not believing for anybody, but, you're going to work yourself out of a job. I mean, things are moving really fast. And, just running our organization, we're looking for the people that are growing, that are developing, that are coming up higher. That's who we want to promote. So it's just, you can't sit back and not to be pressured, but just to use sometimes we're, not knocking anything, but we're spending 2 or 3 hours watching television a night, and maybe we could take a little bit of that time to say, I'm going to work on myself. Maybe I'm going to go exercise, or maybe in the car, I'm going to listen to a good CD or some kind of podcast that's going to inspire me and motivate me. How can I get better? But really believe in, let's got to develop what God's given us.
Who is Joel Osteen when he's not out there in front of the cameras, in front of the congregation, being the Joel Osteen? I mean, can you give us an insider look at the behind-the-scenes version of yourself?
Josh, I'm really laid back. I feel like I'm the same that I am on in front of the screen or in front of people. I like sports. I like to run, to lift weights, and to play some basketball. I'm big into family, and just I'm pretty laid back. I don't necessarily get upset. I just enjoy my family and just try not to live too much of a stressed out life. And I really I don't teach anything that I don't try to live. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I just take each day as it comes. And I've been doing this for 16 years, like we talked about. And one thing I've learned is many of the things I worried about early on. Oh man, how are we gonna raise the finances for the ministry, and how are we gonna get this big building that we're in, on and on. I realize now all that time worrying, it wasn't worth it. It's all going to work out. Much better to come back to that place of trust. And so I think I've got a lot more relaxed in my life. I'm working harder than ever, but in a good sense, and still staying balanced. But I think I would say I'm an easygoing guy that likes to go out and ride bikes almost every night with my wife, and just I enjoy what I do, and I try to enjoy each day.
Yeah, I think that easygoing lifestyle, that calm demeanor is a point that we all want to get to. All right, so I have some rapid fire questions for you as we wind this up. Does that sound all right?
I'll do my best.
You mentioned you're a sports fan. Favorite teams, favorite players?
Well, I'm a local guy here in Houston, so I'm rooting for the Texans, and they need a lot of prayer, but we're getting there. But yeah, I love them. I like basketball too, and I like, I know some of these guys. I like Chris Paul, and I don't know, some of these guys like that.
We'll get those Texans a quarterback, and then they'll be all right.
That's right.
If you could be one superhero, which one would you be?
One superhero? Who would I be? Man, I'm going to sound old, but I guess I'd just be Superman, to fly around and help people. I don't know. I don't know any of the newer ones.
There's so many.
I know, and my kids know all the Iron Man and stuff, and I don't follow that too much.
So you're exiled to a deserted island. What 3 things do you take?
Well, I'd take my Bible. I'd take, I don't know what my choices are. If I'm exiled, I can't take my family. I guess I'd take that. I'd take some chocolate cake, and I'd take some water, I guess. That's all I got on that one. Not too hot.
There you go. How did you celebrate your last birthday?
My last birthday, I had a bunch of family come over. We just hung out at the house, and we played some football in the backyard, and we just relaxed. I like to have family over and a little bit more low key, but that was a fun time for me.
And maybe you already answered this with the chocolate cake. What would be your perfect last meal?
Well, that would probably be a part of it. I like a good steak. I'm really probably a boring eater. I like very American. Give me a steak, a baked potato, and some vegetables, and a piece of chocolate cake, and I'd be happy.
It's if it's cooked right, it's hard to mess that up.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. How do you define success?
I guess I would define it as fulfilling your purpose. So for me, it's becoming, who I was created to be, and not it's not fame or fortune or wealth or anything like that for me. To me, it's did I do what deep down in my heart I felt like I was called to do. And again, it's, I think an important part of that is not comparing myself to somebody else, because, boy, I know ministers that are magnificent communicators, and I do my best, but my point would be is I would be competing with me to say, when I get through with life, when I get through with every Sunday, did I do my best? Did I give it my all? Was I prepared? And, that's a big part of it for me. And of course, tying that into, a good father, a good husband, somebody that made the world a better place.
Joel, it has been a pleasure to take in your perspective and learn from your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Well, Josh, it's my pleasure. And again, thanks to all you guys there at Success. We appreciate you always having us on.